saw recently that Pierre Poilievre released his platform. He laid out his plan. And not surprisingly, it includes massive cuts. He's cutting, and that's what we expect of conservatives. That's what they do. They cut healthcare, they cut services, and that's what his plan is proposing again, to have massive cuts. And Canadians are worried about that. Canadians are looking at that and saying, you know what? I think that's a bad idea to cut services right now, to cut healthcare right now. That's bad for me. That's bad for my family. It's bad for our country. And so more and more Canadians are rejecting conservatives. But what is surprising is that Mark Carney also laid out a lot of cuts in his platform. His platform includes $28 billion in cuts. He has said before many times that he would cut in the operating budget. He's defined the operating budget, said that includes transfers to health, transfers to provinces, transfers to individuals. So he's also proposing massive cuts. Another thing we noted in Pierre Poilievre's platform is he's spending $19 billion on a tax giveaway for Canadians who mostly earn over $1 million. I think that's a really bad expenditure of money, bad priority. Surprisingly, Mark Carney actually has the exact same expense in his budget, in his platform. He's budgeted for also spending $19 billion for mostly Canadians who earn over $1 million. You know, both of them, I think, don't have the right priorities when it comes to spending that type of money on millionaires and then proposing massive cuts for you and your family. I think that's the wrong priority. We also heard Mark Carney recently say that healthcare should not be business. It's not a business. I agree. Now, like most Liberals do, they say the right things, and I acknowledge it's the right thing. This is something the New Democrats have long believed in. We fought to say no, healthcare should not be a business. And so Mark Carney said that. But he's done the opposite in terms of his own career. Just a couple months ago, he was the chair of Brookfield Investments, and Brookfield Investments bought Healthscope, a for-profit hospital in Australia. They made massive returns on that investment for their investors. They cut services, they cut quality of care. It was so bad for patient care that Australia had to pass a state law to ban that practice from happening ever again. That's how bad it was. So Canadians now are wondering, well, how can I trust what Mr. Carney is saying? If he says health should not be a business, but just a couple months ago actually invested in it being a business, actually bought a company that was a for-profit hospital. How can we trust him to actually follow up those words? I think Canadians are saying, well, maybe we can't. And in the face of the real threat of privatization, you see Donald Trump and American billionaires trying to circle around Canada thinking there's more money to be made here. They want to buy up our Canadian health facilities. They want to jack up prices, make more profits. And so can we trust Mark Carney to fight back against that? We saw that the Liberals didn't really stand up to the privatization that we saw under Daniel Smith in Alberta and the threats of more and more private care that we're seeing in Ontario with Doug Ford. So the Liberals haven't really shown a strong track record of wanting to stand up. But who can you trust if you want to fight back against these cuts, if you want to defend our public healthcare system, if you want to keep it public and universal? Well, you can trust New Democrats. We got your back. We're in it for you. We're going to fight to defend it. And British Columbians, I'm going to specifically talk to you right now. Here in BC, you have an incredibly important role to play in this election. You can make the difference between Mark Carney getting a supermajority or sending enough New Democrats to Ottawa so we can fight to defend the things you care about. You have the power in this election to use that power to vote for New Democrats to say, no, I don't want to see cuts to health care. I don't want to see cuts to services, and I certainly don't want to see private care come into this country. So if you believe in defending our universal health care, if you want someone that's going to fight back against privatization and the cuts proposed by both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, vote for a New Democrat. Here in BC, your vote really matters. You can really make a difference between having that line of defense, that line in the sand saying New Democrats will never let this happen, or letting Mark Carney have a supermajority. That's the choice that British Columbians will make, and I'm hopeful that you will send more New Democrats back, re-elect New Democrats like Don Davies here in this riding of Vancouver Kingsway, and elect more New Democrats so that we can fight for you in Ottawa and deliver. Like Jean mentioned, we deliver, we get things done. Donc, on vient de voir
We've just seen
Pierre Poilievre
Pierre
dévoilé son
Poilievre,
plateforme électorale. Dans son
electoral platform. In his platform, he's proposing massive cuts in health care and services. That's normal. It's what he's been saying for a long time and what the Conservatives do all the time. So there's no surprise. But what's surprising is the fact that Mark Carney and the Liberals are also proposing massive cuts of $28 billion in cuts. And they said they were going to cut in the operational budget. He defined the budget as being health transfers and transfers to individuals. So he's proposing massive cuts. At the same time, Pierre Poilievre is proposing to spend $19 billion for cuts to millionaires. And Mark Carney is also proposing this in his platform, tax cuts for millionaires by spending $19 billion. These are bad priorities. In fact, recently, Mark Carney said that health care is not a business. I agree. The New Democrats agree. We fought for a long time to say that no, it should be non-profit health care. It's care for the people. But often, the Liberals say the right words, but they do the wrong thing. And in this time, Mark Carney said the right thing, but when he was the president of Brookfield Investments a few months ago, his business bought a business, a private healthcare establishment in Australia. They've made massive profits. They had poor working conditions and bad care for the patients. And it was so bad that Australia had to put in a law to prohibit these kinds of hospitals in the future. So can we really believe Mr. Carney when he says that health care is not a business? We learned the opposite a few months ago. Can we believe Mark Carney when he says he'll defend our public health care system? I think the answer is no. So if you want someone who is going to protect the health care system and deliver the merchandise, as our candidate said, we deliver dental care, you vote for NDP. You have the power to vote for NDP to protect our health care system against privatization. You have the power to send the NDP to Ottawa and defend what is dear to you.
Thank you. We'll start with questions in the room. We'll do one question, one follow-up. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. The Conservatives have released their platform today, and specifically in it, they say that they will keep the dental care plan as it exists right now, as well as the deals to bring in those certain medications for pharmacare, the deals with the provinces. So why should Canadians be voting for you if these programs will continue to exist without New Democrats?
Do Canadians honestly believe Pierre Poilievre will keep these programs? I mean, if you just, not to go back too far, he voted against dental care, he voted against pharmacare. When asked, he said dental care doesn't exist. He said pharmacare doesn't exist. He says these things aren't working, that they're not being delivered. He's fought against them, he's opposed them, and now we're to believe that he's somehow going to defend them? I mean, I think people know what Conservatives do. And if someone tells you they're against something, they vote against something, they oppose something, they criticize it, and now on the eve of an election, they tell you that, oh, they're going to keep it. Canadians know better. They know that that's not true. But what is, I think, more surprising is the fact that Mark Carney, when people take a closer look, is also proposing these massive cuts. And so for people in BC, I want you to know, you've got the power to stop one party from having all the power. You've got the power here in BC to say, you know what, we're not going to give Mark Carney all the power. We're not going to give the Liberals all the power. We're going to elect New Democrats to stand up and fight for us. BC, you've got that power. You've got the ability to make that difference. And in this election, if you use that power, you can send folks like Don, you can send folks, other New Democrats, who are going to fight to defend what you believe in, what you hold dear. Yeah.
In French, please.
Est-ce qu'on va vraiment croire
Are we going to really believe that Pierre Poilievre will keep dental care and the other care? No, because he voted against these measures in the past. He voted against dental care. He voted it against pharmacare. He criticized these programs. He said they wouldn't work. He said they didn't exist, despite the fact that we have the proof that people have received this aid. He said, no, these programs don't exist. So we can't believe that he will truly keep these things that he has criticized and voted against in the past. So I think it's clear. That's what Conservatives do. They cut. But what's surprising is the fact that Mark Carney has also proposed cuts. So my message here for francophones and francophiles and BC, you have the power to stop. You can send New Democrats to Ottawa to defend what's dear to you.
You called on NDP supporters to elect New Democrats, in your words, to hold the line in Parliament. Last night, former NDP MP Libby Davies talked about the 90s, where she said that the party had lost official party status, and said that, people who are knocking on doors should bring that message of the importance of having that party status. So how confident are you at this point that the NDP can return to Parliament with at least the same number of seats you left with?
Well, I'm confident Canadians have seen the difference that we've made. Jean's story is really powerful. I want folks to know that that's who we're fighting for. And Jean said how amazing it was for her bill to go in and get dental care. That only happened because British Columbians voted for New Democrats and sent us to Ottawa. All the things that we have in this country that we're proud of, our health care, our pensions, our old age security, even our employment insurance, these all came about when Canadians voted for New Democrats. You put your trust in us and we delivered. And because you put your trust in me and Don and our fellow New Democrats, we were able to deliver dental care, the first steps of pharmacare, anti-scab legislation, protections for workers, 10 paid sick days, childcare. These are things New Democrats delivered.
All right, we've been listening to Jagmeet Singh in Vancouver on his campaign trail, talking about what NDP has been able to do in the last government, and also reacting to Pierre Poilievre's cost-cut platform, saying it involves bad expenditure and they don't have the right priorities. He's also slamming the Liberals for not standing up for Canadians with their spending and priorities. Meantime, this news is just coming in from Elections Canada. 7.3 million people voted in advance polls over the weekend. That's a 25% increase from 2021.